Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. Today, I'd like to talk about how you can't standardize a soul. So, I created this session specifically for owners of boutique properties, and specifically those of you who do not come from the hospitality background. You have a very diverse portfolio of businesses, and you got into the hospitality industry through these beautiful locations and properties you have built. And you've either got into it recently in the last 5, 10 years, or you've inherited some of these properties and you want to make them part of your legacy. You want to regenerate the local culture. You want to open your homes in each of these specific locations to people so they can actually live the experiences that you want to offer them. And you've now come to the point where you have a number of properties and you're realizing that, hang on, I need to put some structure here. So there needs to be kind of one central kind of office, head office, that serves each of these individual properties. Much like what you see larger hotel chains do. That makes perfect sense. So if that is you, this is who I have created this session for. And to start off with, I have a question for you. Think of one returning guest or a family in each of your properties. Think of why are they returning year on year on year. Not the people who you've given discounts to, not the people who you're giving incentives to, not the people who you've created some kind of brand loyalty program or tried to do that. But those who repeat, come what may, each year or very regularly. And they have a choice. They can go to other places, but they choose to come back to each of these properties of yours year on year, every time. Now, I want you to ask yourself, why are they coming back? Because the answer would not be brand loyalty. The answer would be that they're coming back because of a specific person, because of a specific experience that they can only have in your particular property, for that village, for the culture, whatever happens in that particular property. That is what they're coming back for. And that to me is far more profound than brand loyalty. It goes far deeper. Now, given that reality and where you are right now in your business, this need to standardize operations, I want you to be very careful, because the playbook you want to look to, the playbook that the larger hotel chains are using, works for them because their guests return to them for brand loyalty. Your guests aren't really returning for brand loyalty. They're returning for something specific. Hence, the playbook you need is very different. Now, let me try to bring this home with an experience I'm living currently right now. So, I'm working with a lovely client. They have a number of boutique hotels in the portfolio, 7 of them. And they started off so, the first generation started off with building a few beautiful hotels in absolutely spectacular locations, enjoying the business, enjoying success, taking it to the next level. And now the second generation is taking over those hotels and opening new hotels. And they have a different way of doing things. And now they want to take things to the next level because they have a number of properties and they're seeing the need to find a more efficient and effective way to manage the current portfolio. So, what what this client of mine has done is that they're now looking to create within the portfolio a couple of collections of hotels, different tiers. They want to standardize things because I can clearly understand you're looking at what other hotels are doing, what larger hotel chains are doing. So you need to create a loyalty program, brand standards, the recognizable experience. And that seems like the next logical step forward. And it's also what success looks like. It's supposed to look like when it comes to the hospitality business. So this client started going down that road. So standardizing guest journey, creating brand guidelines, trying to find a common thread across these very different properties. And this is what we watched happen. So in the last year, what we have actually seen is that the more we try to standardize these 7 hotels and make it feel like one kind of brand or different collections within a brand, the more each hotel felt like the brand they were trying to achieve. So here's how it played out in each property. So in one property, the waiter who knew every returning guest by name and the preferred table, what they love to order, he started to get retrained on service standards, standards of excellence. And the wellness therapist in another property who guests would literally drive hours and hours to actually go and see her and have a treatment from her. She started having to follow 5-star standard protocols that really weren't written for her style of working or for the guests who wanted her style of working. And what we noticed was that these guests simply just stopped returning. The repeat ratio went down. And oddly enough, they were more standardized. People were doing things more mimicking standards of excellence. Yet guests aren't returning more, they're returning less. And here's what I think is actually happening. A large hotel chain, even if they own a brand of boutique hotels, they earn loyalty by predictability. So you walk into one of any of these big brands, very established brands who've been around for 75 years, 50 years, etc. You go to a property here in Madrid or a property in Timbuktu, you know as a guest what kind of standard you're going to get. So the loyalty is to the brand standard. It's to the standard. So the standard is the actual product. But in family run boutique hotels, you earn loyalty through the complete opposite way. You earn loyalty through relational loyalty. Guests return because of what is completely irreplaceable. That specific person, that specific place, that specific feeling in this specific village. The loyalty is to the individual, to the specific thing, to the particular. So, brand loyalty and relation loyalty are not the same game. They're actually structurally completely opposite. And when you try to standardize across a small family run collection, you don't create brand coherence. You actually destroy the very thing people are loyal to. Hence, you can't standardize a soul. The chain model works because guests trust the standard instead of the person. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not attached to a few people who've been working in a property for 20 years. But they fundamentally come back because they know they're going to get a consistent standard. The boutique model works because guests trust the person instead of the standard. So they're completely opposite mechanisms and you can't run them simultaneously. And this is where I thought, okay, we need to change our strategy on how we're working here. And the question is, how can we do that? And through the research for my second book, I came across this form of Japanese poetry called Renga. So Renga is basically a collaboration between multiple poets who are building one poem together. So each stanza, each part that each poet writes within that poem builds and responds on the last one. So you do not see one single voice dominating the entire poem. Yet the whole thing is coherent. And it is coherent not because of the writing that is done in the same style. The coherence comes from the conversation, from each poet's voice responding to the previous poet's voice. And I think that that is actually the most accurate description of what a boutique hotel collection is or could be. So if we take the example of this hotel chain, this boutique hotel chain with 7 properties, these 7 hotels aren't chapters of the same story written in the same voice. They're actually stanzas in a renga. So each one is distinct. Each one has its own character. Each one has its own personality. Each one has its own way of doing things, of responding to its location, of responding to its community, of responding to its guests and its people. And that coherence, the thing that makes it feel unique, the thing that makes your guests come back again and again and again, doesn't come from sameness. That consistency in standard, it doesn't come from that. It comes from the quality of attention, the depth of care, the feeling that whoever made this particular property, this particular experience, made it on purpose for this particular place and for these particular people. And that is what a guest feels like when they walk in to your boutique hotel property, when they come back again and again and again. They can't name it, but they can definitely feel it. And as an owner of multiple boutique properties, your job is to protect this renga and create the stanza of that renga instead of trying to create the same book with different chapters with the same voice. It simply doesn't work. So when we're working with boutique hotel properties, you're not standardizing the experience. What you're standardizing is the conversation, the renga, the different stanzas in the renga. So when you extrapolate that to your hotel, what you're trying to standardize are the values, the questions each property asks of its location, its community, its people. And the answers will always be different because each GM is different, each location is different, each community is different. And it's meant to be different. The beauty is in the difference, not in the sameness. And when you're trying to create brand consistency through sameness, it doesn't work for the boutique hotel properties because boutique hotel properties create consistency in that recognizable depth, that depth of experience. They know they're going to deliver to the guests each and every time they come back. So when you are working on your portfolio of boutique hotels, I think it's important to understand what game you're playing, if you can call it a game. Your role and your strength is not in sameness. You'll never ever be able to out-muscle a large hotel chain that has been established over decades ago. The only way you out-muscle the competition is by being more uniquely you. That's the only way you get to actually stand out. And I think it's equally important to know, why are guests loyal to you? Why are they coming back to you? Ask them. What makes them come back again and again and again? And then standardize that particular conversation that's happening, those values, the questions you're asking your teams, and not the experience. Because when you try to bring 5-star standards from a very different reality and land them into your boutique property that you created very thoughtfully and that your teams cherish, they will suddenly lose what makes them authentic, what makes them unique. So today, I wanted to talk about how you can't standardize a soul. You can't standardize the very thing that people come back to you for. They come back for that authenticity. They come back for that unique feeling. They do not come back to you for the guarantee of a certain standard. They're two very different business models. And I think boutique hotels need to know that though they can aspire and admire a more streamlined operation when it comes to large hotel chains, that standardization, that playbook doesn't apply to your reality. And it simply won't work. And not because it's not effective. It's effective for their business model, but it's not effective for yours. And on that thought-provoking note, I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.